And we're live. Is that... Hi?
Hi.
Hi.
We need to get us on here because I don't know. Technicals.
No.
Well, we're just getting the technicals up and running.
Yeah, I goofed off too long.
And I'm not helping.
Well, you were doing other stuff. Or something.
Hi, you Nana baby.
You coming back from our blanket time? But hey, I hope everybody's okay.
I hope everybody's ready for snow and ice and rain and slush and all of it.
Yes.
Because it's all of it.
We're getting all of it starting tomorrow morning. So yeah. We're in the storm watch.
Storm mode.
Storm mode. It's going to be messy.
I went grocery shopping today because I had to go grocery shopping. And I just happened to get breads and milks.
I'm surprised there was any left on the shelf.
They were actually pretty well stocked.
Doubly surprised.
Yeah. Even the guy that was checking me out was like, I'm surprised it's not busier.
Yep. We got comments.
Yay! Hi Dana. Hi Alex. Happy Monday. Happy February.
So Beth is
I am under the weather again.
And as such, she is on typing duty. So she better get to work on that.
I know. I have a unit right now.
I know. I'm just being...
The princess takes priority. Just show off that bowl.
I'm being something. But anyway, since the last time we talked to you, we had the Hanover Tavern Paracon.
Which was a great success. Raised over $10,000.
Yeah, raised $10,000. Biggest year by far. So $10,000 for the the Historic Hanover Tavern Foundation, which means that, help to, of course, preserve the tavern itself, but also to help in its continuing mission of education and being a focal point of the community. So awesome job there. Very excited about that.
Cheers. Everybody. Well, that's not for you. That's Mummy's.
Oh, so good. And then this past weekend, just yesterday, we got back from Memphis, Tennessee. We had a bit of a blitz down to Memphis.
Which is why I'm sick.
In theory. But we went and hung out with some other... quiet phone. But we'd hang out with some other ghost tour operators from across the country. Got together and hung out in Memphis for a couple of nights and had a meeting. And
ghost tour while we were there.
Yeah, I got to take a ghost tour while we were there. But yeah, I had a good time. Got to swap some ideas and talk about ways that we can collectively better serve our guests and
got some great ideas.
Yeah, so. Won't see any major changes at Haunts of Richmond, but there might be some subtle things.
There's some ideas brewing.
Yeah, some ideas, some subtle things behind the scenes and that. So yeah, maybe see some stuff coming up in the months ahead and stuff like that. But anyways,
Speaking of month ahead, Friday, which is the dry day, by the way.
Yes, the one dry day this week. Valentine's
Day. We do have a special Churchill version of our Churchill Chillers tour.
Yep, it's Arrow to the Heart.
Because we have a lot of love stories up here.
Yep, we do. And, of course, across the city of Richmond in general. So that tour is going to feature, not only some of our classic tours from up here in the Churchill neighborhood, but also some other tales from across Richmond that are spooky love tales. So, yeah, got that going on. Lee is going to be leading that tour. As a matter of fact, Lee was the one that really kind of curated that particular tour script and did it for the first time last Valentine's Day. Was
happy to bring it back.
Happy to bring it back. It was a resounding success. So, Arrow to the Heart up here in the Churchill neighborhood on Friday.
We got a Capitol Hill going on Saturday. And Shaka, was it on Monday?
Yep, Sunday.
Or Sunday.
Yep, Shaka on Sunday. So we got 3 days of tours coming up this weekend. And until then, make sure that you all stay warm and dry over these next couple of days. So, but yeah, so very glad to have you all here. Glad to be back home with the kitty cats. And
they missed us.
Yeah, and we are going to be, we'll be home for a little while. Don't have too many travel plans over the next couple of months. So anyways, but yes, tonight we're here to talk about Haunted Wisconsin. We're bringing it back on a focus on some states again. Get a few more of them chatted up. So Wisconsin, next on the list, and the land of beer and cheese. Yes.
Where I want to go. I have not been.
Beth hasn't been there. I've had the opportunity to travel there on a few occasions, and I love Madison. Madison, Wisconsin, which is really the only part of Wisconsin that I visited. Fantastic city. Amazingly beautiful Capitol building that they have there. And oddly enough, didn't even think about it until just now. We don't have any stories from Madison in the script.
Erin Part 2.
So there will be a Wisconsin Part 2, but no stories from Madison. So
I'm sorry, I got some interesting threads there with Walter, and it just kept going.
Yeah, but anyways.
I'm sorry, I have one ghost in like 6 locations.
Yeah. Well,
I had to.
I didn't. I didn't keep all 6.
Oh, I cut some before I got down to the 6.
Okay. Well, in any case, that is going to be the one that we start off with tonight. And of course, glad to have you here. Pop in on the chat, say hi, ask questions, stuff like that. Happy to have you all here this evening. But so yes, this is the first stop we have for this evening. Comes from the Haunted Retlaw in Fond du Lac. From the Haunted Retlaw in Fond du Lac to the Milwaukee Hilton, the ghost of hotel magnate Walter Schroeder has been reportedly active from beyond the grave. Walter Schroeder was born back in 1878 to German immigrants, and he exemplified hard work from an early age at his father's meat market in the Third Ward. At the age of 14, he commenced employment as a clerk in the office of the Milwaukee Register of Deeds, which provided him with valuable insights into the real estate business. This experience proved beneficial when he began opening hotels in the 1920s. Schroeder took on additional roles, including a position with the Milwaukee Daily Reporter. After his offer to purchase the company was declined, he established his own publication, the Milwaukee Daily Abstractor, successfully attracting the majority of the reporter's subscribers. Subsequently, he persuaded the former owner to sell. Transitioning from the meat market, Schroeder's father ventured into insurance, and at the age of 21, Walter joined him. Their firm, Chris Schroeder and Sons Company, became the largest general insurance company in Wisconsin. By the age of 24, Walter was recognized in the 1902 book Notable Men of Wisconsin. In 1912, the opportunity arose to finance the Wisconsin Hotel, the largest hotel in the state at that time. Recognizing the need for competent management, Schroeder assumed the role, eventually developing a chain of esteemed hotels across Wisconsin, as well as locations in Duluth and Michigan. The pinnacle of Schroeder's career was the completion of the Hotel Schroeder, now the Hilton, on the corner of 5th in Wisconsin in downtown Milwaukee. The 25-story Art Deco structure was celebrated as the finest hotel in the city. Renowned for his philanthropy, Walter Schroeder contributed significantly to various charitable organizations throughout his life. Upon his death on July 18, 1967, he left a $20 million estate to be distributed amongst Milwaukee County charities. The Walter Schroeder Foundation financed projects such as a library at Milwaukee School of Engineering, an Olympic-sized aquatics center for the Metro Milwaukee YMCA, among other projects. Although interred at Forest Home Cemetery, it appears that Schroeder's spirit remains active at multiple locations associated with his name, including those benefiting from his foundation's contributions. If you're hoping for an encounter with the spirit of this hotelier and philanthropist, there are a few places that you can look. Now, the Hotel Retlaw, named after its founder, Walter Schroeder. Retlaw is Walter, spelled backwards.
He had fun with that.
Yes. This is, again, located in Fond du Lac and was considered one of the finest hotels in the state when it opened in 1923. The hotel featured 8 floors, 256 guest rooms, and the second longest cigar case in the state. Notably, underground tunnels linked the hotel to speakeasy operations across the street, reflecting the Prohibition era's influence. The hotel earned a reputation during the Roaring Twenties for its association with bootlegged alcohol, which contributed to Fond du Lac being nicknamed Little Chicago. It is believed that infamous figures such as Al Capone and John Dillinger conducted business at the hotel, although rumors suggest Schroeder may have been involved in illegal gaming and spirits. His philanthropic contributions are much better remembered in the modern day. Local legend says Schroeder was murdered in that hotel. Some employees over the years had strange experiences. Most while it was a Ramada in the 1990s and 2000s when the old building was showing its age.
I'm just saying, a Ramada has a reputation.
Yeah. When supplies were seemingly pushed from a house cleaning cart, when lights flickered, or when televisions mysteriously changed channels, they blamed it on Walter, the prankster from beyond the grave. A particularly harrowing incident occurred when a guest called the front desk to report screams for help coming from room 717. No one had been booked in that room. The maintenance man hurried up to the 7th floor. He found the door shaking as if someone was kicking and pounding hard against it from the inside. The door was locked and his key wasn't working. Then everything abruptly stopped. He tried the knob and it turned freely this time to let him into the room. There was no one inside. He checked the closet, the bathroom. The room was empty. Even more astonishing to him was the absence of scuff marks or indentations on the door from the abuse that it had just taken. The hotel kept a log at the front desk, at least during its Ramada days, of every broken glass, every light turned on, and every rattling door that was attributed to Walter. A change of ownership and recent updates have restored the hotel rent law to its former glory, though Walter seems to have quieted down. Perhaps seeing his hotel receive the TLC that it deserves has calmed him down a bit. While current reports of unusual activity are scarce, the hotel's storied past continues to intrigue and captivate those interested in its history. Moving along to Walter's next haunt. Located just down the street from the Retlaw Hotel, there's another notable site. This is the Retlaw Theater. This ornate theater was constructed to present both films and vaudeville performances and was equipped with an organ and a dressing rooms to support the acts. The interior featured elaborate chandeliers hanging from the ceilings, walls adorned with intricate brocade patterns, and fixtures made of solid bronze. The auditorium walls were decorated with extensive murals of Italian lakes painted by the artist Louis Grell, inspired by photographs from his 1912 travels in Italy. When it opened in 1925, the Retlaw Theater, like many of Schroeder's properties, was regarded as the finest in Wisconsin. However, it also became known for unusual occurrences attributed to Schroeder's ghost. Reports included doors opening and closing on their own, empty theater seats creaking, and sounds of disembodied footsteps, and clapping. Some individuals even reported encountering phantom figures in the basement. In 2014, most of the theater was demolished and repurposed into apartments and office spaces. Only the original Art Deco facade and foyer were preserved, leading some to wonder if the spirit of Walter Schroeder remains in this once grand theater. Shame to lose the interior like that, but I guess...
I mean, at least they kept the facade, but I still hate seeing theaters get torn down.
Yeah.
I mean, our theater row is a perfect example of that happening.
Yeah, true, with the exception of the National, the only thing left. But, yeah. No.
Patrick's going to be a prankster ghost, though.
Oh, absolutely. I didn't think there was any question.
No, the only question I had, are you picking one location or multiple?
Yeah, might as well move around.
Yeah, travel. Yeah, travel in the afterlife.
Travel.
I'm totally being a tour guide in the afterlife.
We're not done with Walter yet.
No, I mentioned he haunts several buildings.
Yep. So Walter was a benefactor of Marquette University and served on the Board of Governors for 7 years. The 10-story residence hall named after him opened in 1957 and accommodates 660 students. While it is unlikely that Walter himself is responsible for disturbances in the south wing of the 9th floor, there have been notable issues attributed to an unidentified presence during student absences. Real quick, is Marquette University in Wisconsin?
Yeah.
It is.
I think so.
Anyways, you look that up. I'm going to carry on. So, resident assistants, or RAs, as you might know them, reported instances of doors inexplicably locking or unlocking, with keys intermittently failing to operate correctly. They also heard doors rattling without any apparent cause, despite finding no open windows or drafts upon inspection. Furniture and personal belongings were frequently moved. One RA's Christmas lights were even destroyed by the entity. Lights were found turned on inside empty locked rooms, and objects often went missing, such as a roll of tape, which later reappeared in the ceiling tiles of another room the following year. These disturbances were particularly concentrated in rooms 925, 913, and primarily 906.
Milwaukee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just a little off the lake.
All right.
It's the only school of dentistry, you know.
All right. So, on one occasion, an RA who retrieved his rosary from his locked room after a ghost opened the bathroom stall door found the door unlocked and the rosary on the floor. He had a freaky appearance, went to get his rosary, door unlocked, rosary in the middle of the floor. That's kind of creepy.
That's hard to explain.
Yeah. Upon reaching for it, he experienced a force that resulted in a broken ankle. He described the event as feeling pressure on the right side of his foot, causing his ankle to break. That's not nice. Following this incident, the RAs enlisted a Jesuit priest to bless the 3 problematic rooms. Subsequent to the blessing, no further incidents were reported. I think I must have been thinking of the city on Michigan's Upper Peninsula. That's not Marquette. Is it Marquette? I don't know.
I have to go back and look.
Yeah, anyways. But, not done with Walter. Moving on. Oh, wait. Oh, wait, no. I'm sorry. We were done with Walter.
We are done with Walter.
The other ones I did trim because, well, they were a little on the thin side.
They were.
Even that last one was a little on the thin side as far as directly related to Walter. His name's on the building. So, no guarantee.
He's a scapegoat on that one.
Yeah. So, anyways, we are going to move on from Walter Schroeder now.
Fire museums.
Yes, well, yeah, this is different though. It's different from the firehouse museums that we talked about a few months ago. This is an actual museum dedicated to a fire that happened.
Yeah, so this one was interesting because this is the one that it was on the same day as the Chicago fire.
Drastically overshadowed because of the Great Chicago Fire.
Yeah, I was just like, wait a minute, what?
So this is the community of Peshtigo. On October 8th, 1871, the deadliest fire in U.S. history ravaged the frontier town of Peshtigo. The fire began on the same night as the Great Chicago Fire to the south, but was far more devastating. The tornado of flames crossed the Peshtigo River and wiped out both sides of town. Every building was lost, with deaths estimated between 1,200 and 2,500 people. All local records were lost, so it's impossible to tell how many may have died. 1,875 square miles of forest and 17 communities were destroyed in the inferno. Survivors, many of whom sheltered in wells or the river or other nearby bodies of water, claimed the firestorm threw rail cars and houses into the air. The Peshtigo Fire Cemetery includes a mass grave of 350 unidentified men, women, and children who perished in the inferno. Many had been burned so badly they were unidentifiable, while others whose features remained visible could not be identified because there was no one left alive who recognized them. The Peshtigo Fire Cemetery marker was erected by the citizens of Peshtigo in 1951. It was the first historical marker in the state. Immediately next to the cemetery is the Peshtigo Fire Museum. The museum is housed in the first church built after the devastating fire. It contains artifacts and stories from the fire. Visitors have reported hearing ghostly voices, seeing apparitions, smelling smoke, and one even reported seeing the church engulfed in phantom flames. That's kind of creepy.
Yeah. All I can think of is when you describe the fire scene is that World War II scene where Wolverine is in the well type holder.
When
the nuke goes off.
Yeah, because Wolverine was Hiroshima or Nagasaki.
He was at
one or the other.
But that's what I envisioned when this is described. It's like, ooh. Because it's this very similar type of blast from the description.
Absolutely. Very, very harrowing experience. Moving along.
By the way, if you haven't noticed, Vincent isn't under here. He's helping his father.
He made himself comfortable. He's reading. Well, don't you try to bite me. He's reading, but he's not reading aloud. So we're going to head back to Milwaukee now. And here we have the Rave. That's the name of this place, the Rave. It originally opened in 1927 as the $1 Million Ballroom. It was a symbol of opulence and prestige, home to the Milwaukee chapter of the Fraternal Order of Eagles. The building housed not only a lavish ballroom, but also a gymnasium, a bowling alley, and an Olympic-sized swimming pool in the basement. It was in that very basement where tragedy struck early on. The young Francis Wren, a 16-year-old boy, drowned in the pool in its inaugural year. Some say his presence has never left. Staff members speak in hushed voices of hearing splashes in the dry pool, followed by the patter of wet footsteps leading nowhere. The air in the basement is thick with the scent of chlorine, though the water has long been drained. During the Great Depression, the building transformed from a luxurious social hub into a shelter for those in need. However, dark tales persist about a cruel director who ran the shelter with an iron fist. Some claim his oppressive spirit still lingers, manifesting in sudden temperature drops and the sound of unseen feet pacing angrily through the corridors. By the mid-20th century, the venue became a hotspot for music, hosting legends like Buddy Holly, who performed one of his last concerts there. Some believe his ghost is amongst those haunting the Rave, though others argue that the building's spectral energy predates his time. Bands who performed at the Rave often heard strange noises in their dressing rooms, disembodied whispers floating through the air, a shadow lurking just outside their vision. Even the seasoned Rob Zombie admitted to feeling unnerved by the place. But it wasn't just the musicians. Patrons, staff, and security guards all had stories. Some saw bar stools flipping themselves at the bar. Others caught sight of a dark figure lurking in the wings of the stage watching the performers. But the story that chilled them all happened one late autumn night. A line had formed at the women's restroom near the ballroom. The door had shut, locked from the inside, and no one was coming in or out. Those waiting swore they saw a woman enter, but after minutes passed, she never emerged. Concerned, a staff member knocked, calling out to whoever was inside. Silence answered. The crowd grew uneasy. A few brave souls leaned in, pressing their ears against the door. Faintly, they heard it, a soft sobbing echoing from within. Growing desperate, the staff decided to intervene. They forced the door from its hinges, the old wood creaking as it gave away. The bathroom was empty. No woman. No way out. No explanation. People swore they felt the cold grip of something unseen that night. Some claimed they heard distant spectral weeping long after the door had been opened. The legend only grew, adding to the chorus of eerie encounters that clung to the bones of the Rave. Even now, those who dare to explore the basement say they feel a presence watching, waiting. Some believe it's Francis, longing for the life he lost. Others whisper of an angry soul, a shadow that refuses to leave. Whatever it is, the Rave still echoes with more than just music. Sounds like an interesting place.
Yes.
I'd like to go catch a concert there.
Patrick commented that it must be quite the presence if Rob Zombie is unnerved. I'm like, yeah, it takes a lot to unnerve that man.
Oh, yes. Yeah, but he even commented on it.
Yeah.
Saying something.
And Patrick and I are fan personating over Book Goblin reels.
Ah, yes. Book Goblin is hilarious.
The Book Goblin is so much fun.
Yeah. You are the Book Goblin.
I am the Book Goblin.
Yeah.
I'm the cousin.
Moving on, we are going to go back to Fond du Lac. So I think I'm pronouncing that right. Fond du Lac? Fond du Lac.
Fond du Lac.
Fond du Lac. That is 3 words. It's not. I'm kind of mashing it together, but Fond, F-O-N-D, space, D-U, space, lac, L-A-C.
Fond du Lac.
Fond du Lac. So here we have the Witherell House, a weathered relic of Wisconsin's past, originally built in 1853 by Elihu Phillips, a former sheriff of Onondaga County in New York. The land on which it stood once belonged to James Doughty, the second governor of the Wisconsin Territory and a key figure in the state's formation. Doughty's successor, Nathaniel Talmadge, was a known spiritualist, a connection that would later fuel the home's haunted reputation. Phillips, born in 1800 as the 7th son in his family, was believed to have divine healing powers, a superstition from the medieval era. Despite this supposed gift, his life was marred by tragedy. He lost 2 wives and all 3 of his children, the last of whom, Eileen, succumbed to illness just 2 years after their move to Wisconsin. Alone and grief-stricken, Phillips eventually sold the home in 1865 and moved into the city, leaving behind a house that would soon earn its reputation as a place of sorrow. By the 1930s, the house had fallen into disrepair, until Archie and Adelaide Witherell purchased and restored it, making it their lifelong residence. But after Adelaide's passing in 1981, no one lived in the house again. Its isolation and tragic past only fueled speculation about lingering spirits. Over time, rumors of a curse began to swirl. Trespassers whispered of a man who had slaughtered his family before hanging himself in the barn. The house became a destination for thrill seekers wielding Ouija boards, desperate to commune with the spirits they believed resided within its walls. Haunts of Richmond does not endorse the use of Ouija boards.
No Ouija boards.
As the years passed, the house was slowly dismantled by vandals and curiosity seekers, leaving it a decayed monument to its own tragic history. Even now, eerie tales persist. Passers-by claim to have seen shifting shadows in the windows and heard horrific screams emanating from within. Some insist the security measures surrounding the house are not to keep people out, but to keep something sinister inside. Whether it is the tormented spirit of Elihu Phillips, still grieving his lost family, or some darker force born from the home's violent reputation, the Witherell House remains an enduring mystery, a place where history and hauntings intertwine in chilling harmony.
Your mom's like, no Ouija boards? Question mark.
Do you want to explain your...
Absolutely not. I will explain, but absolutely not.
Beth has had bad experiences with
Beth
Ouija
has had
boards.
to put stuff away because of Ouija boards.
Yeah, it's not, you didn't abuse the Ouija board. Others abused the Ouija board, left sessions open, and let bad juju into the place. And then you had to were responsible for having to clean it up.
Yeah.
Does that sum it up?
That sums it up.
Okay. How many times did that happen? 4 times. 4 times. So, yes.
I am tired of it.
Yeah. Haunts of Richmond does not endorse the use of Ouija boards as toys. The fact that they're sold in the board game aisle is appalling.
It's a no-no.
In responsible, knowledgeable hands, they
fine.
They can be a tool. But
most people don't have that knowledge and that expertise.
They're sold as toys.
Yeah. Which is why I say no.
So, Ouija boards. There you go. In a nutshell. All right. We're going to go to move along to J Road. So, yes, that's not a name. That's not the name of a person. It is a road. J Road. Might be one of the most haunted roads in Wisconsin. It is a bleak, rural stretch that stretches from Bleak Rural Drive that stretches from the small town of Boltonville in Washington County to the shore of Lake Michigan. Thickly lined with trees and stagnant swamp, it's no wonder this desolate road is home to 2 chilling Wisconsin legends. The first story is about a woman who lived alone on J Road with her cats. Good geese. According to legend, teenagers from town used to harass the woman, eventually escalating to the point of setting fire to her home. The house burned to the ground, and her beloved cats were lost in the blaze. That, not cool. Not cool. I do not like this.
No, I did not like this story either.
So, unwitting travelers have reported seeing the apparitions of burning cats running along the side of the road. I don't know why I left that in there. I hate this story. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna hug my cat.
Disassociating.
I'm gonna be my cat now.
Boltonville residents don't seem to recall a house actually burning down. Hopefully this never actually happened. But researchers have discovered the burned out foundation of an old house on a property along J Road that may lend some grain of truth to the tale. The second and more well-known legend of J Road is a tragic accident that, true or not, has been haunting the area for decades. According to the story, a woman was out jogging along the road when she was struck by a drunk driver. The force sent her careening into the swamp where her body sank into the muck and was never recovered. On certain nights, with the fog from the swamp rolling over the road, people have reported seeing the woman still jogging down the road. When their headlights hit her, she casts a glance back at the car and then vanishes. Other drivers report seeing a ghostly figure in a jogging suit who jogs right down the middle of the street. As the car approaches, the hazy woman turns and faces the car. Some say that she just disappears as she hits the hood of the car. Others have experienced her careening right through the windshield before she evaporates. Looking back in the rearview mirror for a trace of the jogger, the legend says that she has startled many drivers by appearing in the back seat. Creepy spectral runners. Questions or comments?
Your mom can't do that one.
Which one?
The cat one.
No, I don't like the cat one.
I don't like it.
No.
I don't. I have it in there because it was on the road, but I didn't like that story at all.
No. Yeah, I actually, unrelated note, I have a bunch of books that I haven't read, but I haven't touched any books in about several months. Probably 3, 4, maybe even 5 months.
You have a nice one that you started over here that's about this thick.
Yeah, well, you know what? The last 2 books I last 2 books I read, both used killing cats as a horror trope. It's like, no, I'm done for a while.
No.
I'm done for a while. I do not approve.
Okay, so yeah, you need to completely switch genres.
So I put down the books for a little while. That's why I was really hoping to get the murder mystery one that came out last November, which I still need to get next time we were up in New York, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyways.
We'll make a quick trip to the bookstore.
I digress.
But we can find you another
We could.
murder mystery. We have library cards.
We do. This is true. So, I digress. That had nothing to do with Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And we still have more Wisconsin stories to share.
But we love our kitties very, very much. So
Yes, we do.
That's why it's upsetting.
In general, we love all kitties. We love our kitties particularly well. But yes, we do love all kitties.
Oh, that's a sleepy burger face.
Yes. He's grumpy because I'm talking and keeping him awake. So, anyways, next up. Built in 1900, the Maribel Caves Hotel is known as Hotel Hell because of the haunted legends and disturbing rumors that surround it. We will emphasize that these are rumors, but as we well know, many rumors and legends are grown from a seed of truth.
It'll create a truth. Somewhere.
So, first, the building burned 3 times. Each time on the exact same date. It was rebuilt twice, obviously. Have to rebuild for it to burn again. The first fire was in the 1920s. The last was in 1930. Everybody died in their sleep, supposedly. Skeletal remains of some of the victims could still be found on the 3rd floor and in the basement before the structure was gutted. Then there was a hotel guest that went psycho and killed everybody in the hotel during a mass murder frenzy, committing suicide thereafter. Some The Shining vibes going on here. The spirits of those killed in the hotel have lingered on to this day. The spiritual activity attracted a group of local black witches who conducted secret rituals to curse the hotel, and in the process they opened up a portal to hell through the old fountain in the front of the hotel. This unleashed a horde of evil spirits that terrorized the town of Maribel. Fortunately, a white witch came to the rescue, sealing off the portal and confining the demons to the boundaries of the hotel and the surrounding property. Sounds like Wizard of Oz. The original Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Not the Wicked Wizard of Oz.
No.
Not the wicked version of the Wizard of Oz.
But the original.
The original.
Again, the white and the black refers to the type of magic that they do.
Yes. I think you can kind of
Just making sure
you can
that's
parcel
clear.
you can parcel that out. So now all of this in a place that used to be a spa for the rich and famous in the late 1800s. It also said that the infamous Al Capone owned the hotel during the Prohibition era. It served as a hideout for Al Capone, and he ran a moonshine business out of the hotel and the water bottling company next door. Some believed that the underground passageways built beneath the hotel during the bootlegging days contained the lost treasures of Al Capone and John Dillinger. Then, there's a little boy that was playing on the roof of the bottling factory and was killed when it caught fire. His ghost can be seen in the second floor window. Next, visitors to Hotel Hell would see blood on the walls, hear yelling from the basement, and the ringing of a bell. Ghosts of people who died in the hotel are sometimes encountered underground in nearby Maribel caves. Some of the paranormal activities reported include cold hands applying pressure on your back on the third floor, feelings of being threatened in the basement, and apparently if you shine a flashlight at a second floor window, something will shine a light back at you. Now mind you, everything that I just listed there, all rumor, but maybe a little bit of grain of truth in some of that.
Yeah. Patrick says this might be one place he doesn't want to visit.
The Maribel Caves Hotel? Hotel Hell?
As I was responding to him, I'm curious, but I have a feeling I'd be doing a note once we got there, because I'd feel the energy and be like, bye.
Yeah. Yeah, particularly, really not fair. We just finished watching Has Been Hotel Season 1.
Yes.
And,
really enjoyed that show, by the way.
great show. I would say, Hotel Hell, which is basically Has Been Hotel.
I'd go there.
I'd go there. That's a nice Hotel Hell. But anyways, if you do watch it, be warned, it really should be NC-17.
It should be.
Even though it is a animated thing. Definitely not for kiddos. No. So, moving on. So, all that said, the true history of the Maribel Caves Hotel seems to be much less interesting. Shocker. Apparently, it opened in 1900 as a hotel and therapeutic spa for travelers, meaning that all of the stuff about the rich and famous in the late 1800s, kind of a little bunk. Eventually, it became a tavern, and it remained open in one form or another until a blaze destroyed the interior in 1985. The building was eventually...
Nice job, Vincent.
Vincent just completely edited the script. Good job, lady.
Nice headbutt.
The building was eventually gutted in 2006, removing all remaining debris inside and leaving only the old stone walls standing. Much of that empty shell was reduced to ruined piles when the structure was knocked down by a severe storm in 2013. So where did the facts and the myth begin? Or where did the facts end and myth begin? At this point, we may never know for sure. Still, the creepy tales of the Maribel Caves Hotel will linger for some time to come. Excuse me. Beer wanted to go down the wrong pipe there.
Please no.
Yeah, no.
We don't want to go anywhere near the hospitals right now.
No.
They're overtaxed.
All right. Moving along. So, for decades, a grand Italianate mansion sat weathering away in the countryside near the small town of Eureka, Wisconsin. Tales abound of ghosts, bootlegging, secret tunnels, the Underground Railroad, and Al Capone stopping by on his way to his Northwoods hideout. What began as a dream come true for two twin brothers quickly became a nightmare they had to leave behind. Identical twins Augustus and Argalus Foote brought their families to the wild frontier of Wisconsin from Massachusetts in 1849. They purchased an initial 80 acres of land where they built the house and eventually bought an additional 160 acres, making it the largest farm in the area. They also bought the nearby Eureka sawmill, where business boomed as steamboats hauled lumber along the Fox River to the thriving city of Oshkosh. The brothers were very close and couldn't bear to be separated. So in 1852, they built the huge home where they both could live. It had 30 rooms comprising 6,000 square feet, divided into 2 symmetrical wings that each family could live parallel lives. The house was split down the middle by a central hallway, a perfect mirror image from kitchen to parlor to decor, with a tall cupola in the center offering expansive views of the surrounding wilderness. Argalus, his wife Adelia, and their 3 children lived in one wing, Augustus and his wife Anne on the other. They lived this idyllic and prosperous life for a while, but it proved to be short-lived when it all began to unravel a few years later. Christmas of 1855 brought joy to the Foote mansion as Augustus and Anne were expecting their first child. Anne went into labor on December 19th, but died during childbirth. Augustus was devastated. Then a few months later, his newborn daughter, Mary, died as well. Engulfed in grief, the home Augustus and his brother built soon became a constant, painful reminder of his loss. He could not bear to stay any longer and moved away. Servants and farmhands filled his wing of the family home. In 1877, Argalus became a widower as well with the loss of his wife. The brothers decided to sell the sawmill and abandon the farm, relocating to Oshkosh, where they tried their hand at running a flour mill. Financial ruin followed, and both the mill and the mansion were foreclosed upon. The mansion became known as Foote's Folly.
Sorry.
It changed hands several times, but eventually fell into disrepair. The brothers spent their final years living with Argalus' son Andrew in New London. Augustus died in 1901, followed by Argalus in 1902. The inseparable brothers were buried side by side with their deceased wives and children on the nearby Eureka cemetery. As the years wore on, their once grand manor gained a reputation for more than its decay, drawing curious visitors who were eager to explore its shadowy halls. Some who entered claimed to hear footsteps in empty rooms or see fleeting figures in the corner of their eye, perhaps the lingering spirits of the Foote family. By the 1930s, the dilapidated mansion was already known as a haunted local curiosity. In 1935, a local women's group offered Halloween tours of the house. Myriad legends grew over the years to fill the black void inside the abandoned mansion. Stories that it had served as a safe house for escaped slaves on the Underground Railroad during the Civil War, that it had secret tunnels and stairways. Some say the mansion was used for bootlegging moonshine during Prohibition, and that the notorious gangster Al Capone would stop by on his way north to Hayward, where he'd lay low when things got a little too hot in Chicago. Covered trucks were seen coming and going from the mansion at night. According to rumor, a machine gun was mounted on a turret in the cupola. Visitors exploring the abandoned home would often hear footsteps overhead on the second floor, though no one was there. Passers-by saw mysterious floating lights in the dark, vacant windows, and sometimes the apparitions of 2 twin boys could be seen playing in the yard. Police were frequently called out to investigate these reports, only to find the house empty. In the spring of 2020, after decades of neglect, the Foote mansion finally collapsed in on itself and was leveled. The land where it stood is a field now, every trace of its history vanished. With the ruins of their shattered dreams finally gone, maybe the Foote brothers can finally find peace.
Sad stories.
Yes.
Got another mansion for you. This one, with its long and eerie history, Summerwind Mansion regularly makes lists of Wisconsin's most haunted. First constructed in the early 20th century as a fishing lodge along the shore of West Bay Lake, it would be purchased in 1916 by Robert Pattinson Lamont, an executive with American Steel Foundries Corporation. The Lamont family renovated and enlarged the mansion to transform it into a family summer vacation home. The first reported hauntings come from the Lamonts, where legend says that the servants would complain of hearing disembodied voices. Then, one night, a ghostly apparition allegedly appeared in the kitchen area, prompting Lamont to fire 2 shots into the basement door. Supposedly, the Lamont family fled the house after this, never to return. That said, none of it is corroborated in Lamont's own writings. The mansion stood unused throughout much of the 1930s and was sold to a family named Kiefer in 1941. The Kiefers used it as a vacation home but were never full-time residents. Mrs. Kiefer, according to the stories, was afraid to enter the house and assiduously tried to avoid it. Multiple attempts were made to sell the mansion and none succeeded until the 1960s when the Henshaw family purchased the grand estate. Arnold and Ginger Henshaw were eager to make it their own, but soon learned that they couldn't pay any contractors to step foot in the property. That was only the beginning of their problems during their short 6 months at the mansion. Excuse me again.
Sorry.
The sounds of disembodied voices, a corpse found beneath a hidden wall, cold gusts of wind, and the demonic possession of Mr. Henshaw himself, which reportedly caused him to play the organ with bone-chilling sounds into the late hours of the night.
Little Phantom of the Opera.
All kinds of bad juju.
Buddy.
Vincent's annoyed with me.
Oh, well, your sister's taking up my whole lap space, buddy.
The ghost of a man, clad in 18th century clothes, began wandering around the house at night. The Henshaws would hear the sound of his footsteps outside their room. They would hear him opening and closing the doors. It seemed the phantom loved Lamont Mansion and also called it home. Ginger's father, Raymond Bober, would also come to live on the property and claimed to often encounter the spirit of the wandering man. Over time, he began to suspect that the specter had once been a man named Jonathan Carver. Carver was a colonial explorer and writer who had traversed much of Wisconsin. The King of England had offered a handsome sum to anyone who discovered Maine waterways, particularly ones that led to the Pacific Ocean. Despite the fact that Jonathan Carver successfully explored and documented a large portion of the Mississippi River, his efforts were never recognized nor rewarded by Parliament. Raymond Bober grew convinced that after his death in 1780, Carver's spirit had returned to Wisconsin and had elected to haunt the property. Over time, the frequency in which the ghost visited the mansion began to take its toll on the Henshaw family. Arnold and Ginger found that they couldn't sleep at night, ever fearful that Carver's ghost would appear behind every corner, behind every closed door, watching them with the eyes of the undead. Fear took over their lives. Unable to cope, it is said that Arnold suffered a nervous breakdown while in the house. Sick with horror and dread, it is also said that Ginger attempted to kill herself while living at the house. In 1979, Raymond Bober broke his silence about what had happened at the house. He published a book under the guise of Wolfgang von Bober entitled The Carver Effect, a Paranormal Experience. In the book, Bober claimed Jonathan Carver as the primary ghost that lived at the house. He called the property Summerwind and explained that the house itself had supernatural abilities. Many times he would enter a room within the house only to find its dimensions and appearance had drastically changed. Many locals disparaged the publication. They claimed that the mansion had never been haunted, but Raymond Bober stuck to his story. The following year, Life magazine featured the property in a photo essay titled Terrifying Tales of 9 Haunted Houses. The article was a raving success, and the house's status changed forever. The Lamont Mansion became known from that point on as Summerwind, an eerie place with a chilling reputation. It's no surprise that Summerwind often lay abandoned from that point on. Everyone was too afraid to purchase the house. With time, the once glorious mansion grew tired and dilapidated. For many years, the mansion's sole visitors were tourists, drawn by the macabre stories that they had heard. They would often walk the property in search of Jonathan Carver and other apparitions. By 1985, Vilas County was thoroughly fed up with Summerwind. Not only had it become a popular place for ghost hunters, but the abandoned mansion had become a local hangout place for rebellious teens. For some reason or another, however, the sheriff's office failed in their attempts to destroy the property. Fate took care of the problem 3 years later. On June 19th, 1988, neighbors claimed a raging storm ripped through Vilas County. They watched in awe as a lightning bolt struck Summerwind, which quickly started to flame. The house was completely consumed by fire. No one tried to save it. Today, the house is gone, but Summerwind's reputation still remains. Did the house truly have supernatural powers like Raymond Bober claimed? Did Jonathan Carver really haunt the property, terrorizing anyone who encountered him? We may never know. Many, however, believe it to be true. Paranormal enthusiasts still visit the property today, keeping speculation and the legend alive. It's interesting.
Very interesting. Sucks that Carver never got what he was promised. For the work he did.
Oh, I know. Yeah, can you imagine surveying like an entire state's worth of waterways and then saying, we're not going to pay you?
Doesn't surprise me with the British government, but
No.
at that time.
No. As you do. All right.
What do you do?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm fine.
That's it, just making sure.
Yep. All right. Next up, we have a place called Holy Hill. 500,000 visitors from around the world make the pilgrimage to Holy Hill every year, many of whom come for healing and leave their crutches and eyeglasses behind to attest to the land's strange power. It's been a bastion of Catholic faith for over 300 years, but the legends of a murderous hermit, a haunted cemetery, and acres of mystic forest where restless spirits and bizarre creatures like Goatman and the Beowulf roam the night speak to something darker at work. Surrounded by hundreds of acres of natural forest, Holy Hill is a minor basilica of the Roman Catholic Church and National Shrine of Mary, Help of Christians, that towers over more than 289 feet over the forest floor on one of the single highest peaks in southeastern Wisconsin. An earlier structure that once stood on the site was littered with crutches left behind by visitors who found healing on this mysterious summit. A reclusive Catholic order from Bavaria called the Discalcated Carmelites are the current stewards of the hill and have been since 1906. But the first Catholics there were 17th century Jesuit missionaries from the north. According to tradition, the hill was first explored in 1673 by a French-Canadian priest named Jacques Marquette, along with adventurer and fur trader Louis Jollet. Local native folklore tells of a black-robed chief who wore a crucifix and rosary at his belt while he prayed on the big hill. And this will in turn bring us to the tale of the murderous hermit. As a young man, Francois Soubreau had been studying for the priesthood when he met a girl and fell in love. When he publicly announced his engagement to her, he was banned from the church and brought disgrace upon his family. He decided to leave home for a while to let the controversy subside. He promised his love he would return for her, but after a year he arrived home to discover she had been unfaithful. Soubreau murdered the girl in a jealous rage, then fled to a monastery in Quebec where he lived in penance as a monk. Legend says that it was in that monastery that Soubreau discovered the diary and map from Father Marquette's travels and decided to follow it to the sacred hill where Marquette had constructed a stone altar, erected a wooden cross, and dedicated the site to the Blessed Virgin Mary. There he would pray for forgiveness for breaking his vow of chastity and for murdering his lover. Sometime around the mid-1800s, an area farmer noticed a figure moving about in the moonlight one night on Holy Hill. The figure seemed to be performing religious rites, kneeling before the silhouette of the cross for an extended period before rising and disappearing into the woods. That figure was Soubreau. He had been living alone on the hill in a crude dugout or hut for who knows how long. He soon became friends with neighboring farmers and eventually shared his story with one trusted acquaintance. On his travels to the hill, Soubreau had contracted a disease that left him almost entirely paralyzed. But when he finally reached the hill, he was so determined that he crawled to the summit where he spent the first night in prayer. The following morning, Soubreau discovered that he had regained function of his entire body again. He had been miraculously healed at the top of the hill. He decided to build a small chapel there where he remained for 7 years. Then the recluse vanished as mysteriously as he had arrived. Some stories say Subaru joined the Union and fought in the Civil War, where he died in battle, while others claim he had been witnessed alive and well in Chicago sometime after his disappearance. According to some spooked visitors, he can still be found wandering the grounds of Holy Hill at dusk, his ghostly visage kneeling and praying at various crosses along his old path, or drifting through the cemetery in the forest below the church. The haunting tales of Holy Hill don't stop with the hermit. The site also features a Carmelite cemetery, the burial ground for Holy Hill's caretakers, where visitors have reported a strange phenomenon. Photos taken in the cemetery would sometimes be obscured by a thick mist that hadn't been visible to the eye. On some occasions, the mist does become visible to the naked eye, and the experience is particularly unnerving. Visitors to the cemetery at night have reported encounters with this particular mist. It is said that it forms out of nowhere and soon engulfs bystanders. The mist is said to form into the shape of a man with clearly distinguishable features, including the face, eyes, and a beard. Then, just as quickly as it rolled in, the apparition dissolves into the night air and is gone. Some speculate that this misty specter of the hermit Francois Subaru, but there have certainly been many other people to come and go from Holy Hill as well that might have caused to linger about in thereafter. Spirits aside, I hope you didn't think that we would just go ahead and skip past those previous references to the bear wolf and the goat man that I mentioned just a little bit ago. Coming back to them. For these creatures, we will look first at the event from the early hours of November 9th, 2006, not that long ago. That night, a Wisconsin DNR contractor named Steve Kruger was cleaning up roadkill from the back roads around Holy Hill when he had an encounter he would never forget. At about 1:30 a.m., Kruger had just loaded a deer carcass from the side of the road into the back of his truck. He climbed back into the cab to do some paperwork. Suddenly, the truck began shaking, and when Kruger looked up into the rearview mirror, he saw a huge, hairy beast standing on its hind legs, reaching down into the bed of the truck to drag the carcass from the open tailgate. Kruger recalled, "All I saw was the creature, one paw, or whatever was on it, reaching over to grab the deer. The head looked like a cross between a bear and a wolf." He described the creature as dark-colored, with a snout like a bear but longer, and big pointy ears like a wolf. Terrified, Kruger threw the truck into gear and took off. Kruger later realized that the ATV ramp that he used to ease roadkill onto the truck had also come out with the deer carcass. When he returned to the scene to retrieve it, the creature, the carcass, and the ramp were nowhere to be found. He reported the encounter to authorities. Contrary to his description of the creature, though, local media reported it the following day as Bigfoot at Holy Hill. Some locals laughed it off. Others refused to get the mail after dark. But for some, Kruger's encounter was all too familiar, and his experience encouraged them to come forward with similar accounts. A man named Rick Selkirk said he saw the same creature 2 years earlier in October of 2004 when it ran across the road in front of him. Local tracker Mike Lane reported exceptionally large prints from an animal that must have weighed several hundred pounds. Since then, there have been numerous similar encounters in the area, including a 4-foot-tall, hairless creature running on its hind legs that was nearly run over by a woman and her daughter in 2014. As for the Goat Man, Hog's Back Road near Holy Hill is a narrow, treacherous drive with sharp turns and steep drop-offs on both sides. It's also home to the Goat Man. According to local legend, the wicked half-man, half-goat beast darts out in front of cars, forcing drivers to swerve and plummet off the side of the road into the forest below. In his book, Goat Man, Flesh or Folklore, researcher J. Nathan Couch details the earliest known story, which dates back to the 1870s when a young newlywed couple attempted to navigate the road by wagon. Likely little more than a snaking trail through the woods, Hog's Back Road was still full of peril, as they would soon learn. When one of their wagon wheels broke, the husband told the wife to remain with the wagon while he went back to town for help. But as night wore on and he didn't return, she began to worry. Soon, to her relief, she heard movement outside the wagon. But then there was a sniffing sound, like a large animal that had caught a scent on the breeze, followed by a horrific goat-like bleating that filled the night air and chilled her to the bone. When she peeked out of the wagon, she caught a glimpse in the moonlight of a creature covered in coarse hair with human legs and the horned head of a goat. She screamed and cowered in the wagon until the sun rose. When she finally emerged from the wagon, her husband was still nowhere to be found. She discovered huge cloven hoof tracks in the ground that led from the road into the forest. She followed the tracks and came upon a large oak near the tree line. It was covered in blood, and her husband's mutilated remains dangled from its gnarled limbs. On that grim note, let's go ahead and grab a drink.
It's time for a pub story. Because, yeah, I need some whiskey after that one.
We're not ending on that note. No, not ending on that note. One final stop.
In a pub.
Yeah, in a pub, short distance from Holy Hill. Holy Hill.
It's
Hell.
probably hell.
Yeah. Holy Hill in the town of Erin. Here we find the Tally Ho Pub and Grill. This historic building was established in the 1800s and is served as a saloon, hotel, and general store. These days, it's a great place to grab some wings and a cold beer and also have an encounter with a sometimes violent poltergeist. Mr. and Mrs. Rattenbach owned the Tally Ho in the 1930s and are said to have operated a brothel there. Mr. Rattenbach was a violent drunk who put their daughter Emily to work serving up more than just drinks. What a
I hope
piece
he's
of
on
work.
a certain level down there.
Emily was born in 1905 and died at just 31 years old. Legend says Emily was murdered in the Tally Ho and buried in the basement beneath a pile of rocks. Today, most visitors are fortunate enough to just catch the scent of lavender and lemon balm as she passes by unseen. Others have seen her as an apparition in white. Doors open and close on their own, voices are heard whispering in the dark after the bar closes, and footsteps are heard walking in the basement. But an unlucky few, usually men, have had more harrowing encounters with Emily. In the kitchen, knives have a tendency to come flying off the magnetic strip above the sink. On 2 separate occasions, cooks have been attacked by them and both required stitches. A man who lived in the apartment above the bar often awoke in the middle of the night to find his coverings had been torn off of him while he slept, and his valuable possessions would frequently go missing, never to be found again. He believed he was being personally targeted by Emily and eventually moved out to escape her torment. There was a Rattenbach family in the area. Emily, daughter of Charles and Louise Rattenbach, was born... Oh, God, I botched the editing there. Sorry. So but let's say, oh yes. So the Emily that was there did actually, story's a little different, married a man named Erwin Rugg, and she has a grave in the Faith Church of Christ Cemetery in Slinger. Whew, I'm here. Home stretch.
You got this.
Yeah. So if it's not Emily in the Tally Ho, who is the lady in white that was buried in the basement of Tally Ho and attacks men with knives? Is Holy Hill a sacred place where the faithful are healed by the Virgin Mary, or is there something more mysterious and possibly darker at work in this strange land?
Probably both.
Apologies for the rough ending there. Whew. Words, am I right?
Words.
Any last questions?
Don't think so. Still processing the fact that the town's name is Tally Ho. I agree with that, Patrick. It sounds like my type of place. Minus the brothel keeper father.
Yeah. I mean, if it has pub in the name, there's a good chance that it's for us. Not a guarantee.
Not a guarantee.
But a good chance.
Yeah.
So, with that, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're still with us at this point after me butchering those last few minutes,
Thank you.
thank you. Appreciate your patience. We will be back in 2 weeks.
With Wyoming.
Yes.
And then after that, we're doing Texas, which I'm weeding my way through right now.
Yep. So Wyoming.
That's a lot of cryptids in Texas.
Yep. And trying to think. We do have it'll be after our next show, but we do have another John Marshall House tour coming up at the end of the month.
Yep.
So you can join us for that. That's in addition to the special Valentine's Day tour that we mentioned at the beginning of the show.
And then comes March when we have our final haunted dinner on the books right now.
Yes. Yep. So we're going to be doing Irish Spirits as a haunted dinner event at Patrick Henry Pub and Grill. That'll be the first Friday in March, I think.
Yes. And then, of course, Irish Fest is the 15th and 16th of March, which Churchill Irish Festival. So, we're going to be out there this time with a table. And GalaxyCon at the end of the month, which is the last Thursday through Sunday, we have guaranteed 3 panels that they have accepted. We don't know times yet.
Nope. And we'll have the table there all weekend.
We'll have a table there. So.
How could I forget? We got Segway tours coming back. They're back. Actually, supposed to. We'll see what the weather does.
Start this Saturday.
Supposed to this Saturday afternoon. There'll be Saturdays at 2:00. So if you want to come on out and join us for a spooky Segway tour, you can go look at RVA on Wheels. The tickets are they are selling the tickets for this. But yeah, if you buy tickets there with RVA on Wheels, we'll show up. We'll tell the spooky stuff. They'll lend the wheels, and we'll zip around town and do some spooky stories.
Yes. Patrick said, I thought you said taxes. Yes, that would be horrifying.
Yeah, I mean, taxes are horrifying.
Yeah, sorry, I have a cough dropping, so I'm now slightly...
Another state. Texas.
Texas.
So Wyoming and Texas are next on tap.
Yep.
Different episodes. But with that...
Where we are.
Yep, with that, we will go ahead. We will call it a night. Thank you again for watching. Hope to see you again next time. And as always, if you have any questions, drop us a note. And until
stay safe.
Stay safe. Yeah, stay safe. If you're around this area here in your local area, stay warm, stay dry.
If you don't have to go out, don't go out.
Yep. And stay
thank
spooky.
You for all the get well spit.
Yeah.
I will. Stay spooky, y'all.
Yep. Stay spooky. Night, y'all.